vinyl.
Everybody, welcome to the new hit podcast out there. That's right, kids. We have a brand new podcast with myself, Cain Stevens. I've got DJ BJ. And now we got Brooke Johnson in the house, and we got the man, the myth himself. We have Mr. Chill, Randy Wilson, everybody. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. Yep.
Well, we're here. We've got this sweet new podcast, Scratch the Vinyl, where we're just scratching the vinyl on anything and everything that comes to our mind, to be honest with you. We're going to have a tie-in with music, right? We're going to talk about music a little bit. We're going to cut Randy, you had brought up a wonderful quote that Dave Grohl had not too long ago, and you brought it to our attention. You want to kind of graze over that, and we'll talk about it a little bit?
Dave Grohl said, that's one of the great things about music. You can sing a song to 85,000 people, and they'll sing it back to you for 85 different reasons.
And that's powerful.
I think we can all relate to that. If you've ever been to a live show, yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's well-known people and bands. Just your local band can make you feel the same.
Well, even for like the bar circuit, bars and everything. You guys see people, you see cover bands, you see original bands, you see people doing karaoke. I mean, you hear all sorts of songs. I too did karaoke, with Randy back and the impact of certain songs, man, it just really socks you in the stomach sometimes, and then it really picks you up too when you're down, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think it has a lot to do with the person too conveying that music, because there's like with karaoke, for instance, there's a woman that sings one of my favorite songs, and just her voice, the way she just exudes perfectly how that song should be sang in her way, but it touches other people. So it really, I get up there and it's like, okay, I'm gonna sit down with the same song.
You always say that, but I think people, whenever I've seen you sing, you're always well received. You do a good job. I mean, think about it. It's karaoke. A lot of people aren't necessarily real songbirds in their regular life.
That's right. It gives you that, I get to get up there with a microphone.
Well, for our audience listeners that don't know Brooke, they will soon get to know she has a very comedic effect, and she brings that to the stage every time she's up with a microphone.
Yeah.
That's like on a performance, right? I mean, you don't want some stiff up. I mean, there's always room for a stiff up there, that just kind of like me probably, but like you get somebody like Brooke up there, you're entertained, man.
Oh Lord.
Well,
a little much.
Back to your point though, is music. It's not the music that's emotional, it's the people and things that we associate it to, and when you hear those, it's what evokes that emotion. So that's how I see it.
Absolutely. And I think on a deeper level, like even subconsciously, the music itself, the rhythm, the beat, the tone, all of that can hit you. And when I did massage, I had the CD that I would play, and it would literally, your brainwaves would calm. They would, you could get into a deeper meditative state. So I think a lot of that has to do, even the feelings, even subconsciously. So when you hear something that really touches you, it goes soul level, It
does. It has a lot to do with vibrations, right? We talk about that a lot. It just, there's so much, like for me as a musician, like I tell Randy this all the time, I could be having a horrible day. I'll grab my guitar. I'll just strum the 6 strings a few times, you know what I mean? Just up and down. And just instantly the vibrations of that instrument brings me up. And that takes me out of whatever sadness I'm in. So, I mean, music has a wonderful effect on life. I can't say it enough. It's done nothing but great things for me.
What I always say, of course, is when you're happy, you enjoy the music. And when you're sad, you connect to the lyrics. There's something about a lyric in a song that, man, just can go right to your heart. And it's like it explains everything you're feeling right then and there. and I'll admit I'll be guilty. I've played some songs over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
That's a great segue into we should do a new segment about what are you listening to? You know what I mean? Like what especially like this week. I'll tell you a song. I'll share a song with you that I cried to even. Okay, like I listened to it over and over again, and it's really goofy because when I admit it out loud, it makes me want to cry just thinking. Listening to that Billie Eilish Barbie song, man, and man, when I did that, the first time I heard it, I fell asleep during the movie, which is terrible to say, but I woke up as that song was on, and I was like, oh my god, it might have even like woke me up, and I was like touched immediately by it, and I was obsessed with it. Is that not a great?
No, I watched the movie too. I hardly remember any of the movie, but I remember the 3 songs.
Yeah,
and then having the woman that created the Barbie, kind of the iconic part of it. That's what I remember from the movie. That's it.
Oh man, you got to rewatch it. I think I bawled almost the whole way through, and I was like, yes, and cried again. I couldn't believe how much I loved that movie. I felt embarrassed starting to watch it. It was amazing.
But yeah, I've kind of followed the kind of Billie Eilish and Phineas, how they got involved in that project and how they were stumped, they blah blah, and they're about ready to give up. And Phineas started playing just a small little riff, and Billie just kind of went into an emotional, and she says they then literally knocked it out in no time. It was just like they had to connect to it on a certain emotional level, and wow, it comes out in the song. I mean, obviously, I don't know anybody that doesn't listen to that song, and it does evoke some emotion.
It everything about it does, man. It's just like I was literally driving around Lincoln sobbing, like so if you saw me rolling around the streets of the mean streets of Lincoln, I was literally bawling my eyes out to listening to this song over and over. It was just so good, man. It just pulled everything out of me. And that's what we were talking about earlier about lyrics, right? Is that it's not that not all of the lyrics really connect with me personally, right? I mean, I don't have a boyfriend that I can't, or whatever, or I don't have a beautiful Ken over here with the rock hard abs with me, but it just the way they did it, right? Her soft, beautiful voice, the lyrics, the music all together was a masterpiece. It really was.
Well, it was different, like it wasn't the same stuff you hear like every day on the radio, it was just really good. It was really good.
Well, I think that's actually what Billie Eilish's appeal is to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. She isn't traditional. Her brother to me is a mixing genius. Yeah. I mean, they wrote that first album out of their bedroom, mm-hmm. with basic equipment and really crafted some great songs that do connect to a lot of people. Her fan base definitely connects to her on a level maybe I wouldn't understand, but they sure do.
Yeah. You know what they remind me of? They remind me of a band that I don't share with many people, but I'm actually the world's biggest Carpenters fan, and they remind me of modern day Carpenters. Isn't that crazy?
No, it's totally true. Karen Carpenter, her brother, was the hugest influence on her. And he pretty much stayed in the background and let her do her thing, but they would have been nothing without him.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, he's like a virtuoso and like a master composer. Like he was just great at all of it. And then, R.I.P. to Karen Carpenter, the greatest singing drummer of all time, right? I mean, shit, what a voice on that chick, man.
I love Karen. No, I love them all. They remind me of my growing up. I love them. Sorry. Oh God.
She's starting a chainsaw and she's gonna run her head on top of it as soon as we're done.
The truth is, we are all influenced by our parents' musical choices.
Yeah, that is true. Some of it is true, and some of it I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? Oh, Mom, My first CD I ever got was on Christmas, and it was Wilson Phillips. And I loved it, listened to it, and then the first CD I went and bought shortly after, Live. Two different ones.
What are you guys listening to right now? Like, what's in your tape deck or Walkman or whatever the heck you're listening to?
I'm starting to like Brandy Carlisle again. I used to listen to her all the time, but she has the story, and it just, that song, that's one I play over and over and over and over again. Like, I do not get sick of it. I love it. But she's a cool artist though too.
So I try to stay open to a lot of new stuff right now, just to, I don't know, sometimes just to mix it up. And I love what Justin Timberlake just put out. I thought what J-Lo just put out is uniquely really good. It may be a strange attraction, but I love Dua Lipa.
It's not strange at all, man. I think she's like one of the biggest stars outright. I mean, there's some big ones, right? But I think if she's not already, she's going to be like the biggest megastar out there, one of for sure.
How about you, Ken? What's popping in the 8-track deck you got?
Man, my mind is like the devil's jukebox. You know what I mean? Like I can't. I have like musical ADHD, so I'm always trying to like just find new bands and all that for different radio things I'm doing and all this. But I've been listening to a ton of the Eagles. I mean, you and I kind of talked about that briefly before, but I was, once again, man, this is a recurring theme for me. I was in a horrible mood the other day, and I popped on the Eagles 1980 Eagles Live album, and my day instantly got better from there. Like I listened to it the rest of the day, like over and over again. And if you haven't listened to that album, where they were at each other's throats, they had broke up, right? They came back for this tour. It's like the Eagles Live. It was like the best live album that I've ever heard.
Well, that album, of course, is phenomenal front to back. There is no bad song. If you've ever seen them in concert, you stand for every song. Ironically, they are going to be in our area this week. They'll be performing in Omaha on Saturday night, even though, of course, Glenn Frey has passed away. So they're calling this the final tour of the members that are left.
How many members are left? I mean, it's going to be weird not having Glenn Frey there because he's such a major part of it. Well,
of course, Randy Meisner left the band many years ago, but he also passed away this last year.
Right.
But Glenn Frey, Don Henley were kind of the heart and soul. It started the band. Brought in Joe Walsh later on to kind of give them what they called the rock element. They finally had a rock star in the band. And, man, we could spend a whole episode on just the history of Joe Walsh. I'll tell you that. Of course, Timothy B. Schmidt, who has basically been a member of the band since Randy Meisner left. And a little history for you that when Randy Meisner left the band Poco, Timothy B. Schmidt replaced him in Poco. And then when Randy Meisner left the Eagles, they called Timothy B. Schmidt, and he's been a member of the band ever since. And he has, of course, brings that super unique vocal and harmony to the band that, you just feel like he's been there all along. And Bernie Ledden, there has, like you said, there has been some strife in the band for many different reasons. And a lot of it has to do with, you have two members that really actively cranked out songs, lyrics, and, they wanted a little more piece of the pie for, basically carrying the load. And, you have these one or two band members that, like, hey, I thought we were a band. We share equally. But I guess when it comes to billions and billions of dollars, friends aren't just friends and bandmates aren't just bandmates. And we see that in a lot of other bands that's happened over time. And
Do you have any favorite Eagles songs that do it for you?
Any what? Sorry.
Any Eagles songs that really kind of like
When some of the members have passed away, we always have a little ode to them at the bar that I work at. So I didn't listen to a lot of them, but I don't really have like a favorite. But you guys are the Eagles guys.
the nerd Eagle guys.
Well,
He's the nerd Eagles guy. I'm just like I'm kind of like a happy medium in between you and him, you know, with it. Like I know just enough because I like it.
Yeah.
Brooke, you're not here just for your good looks. We need some input here.
Radio voice, you know what I mean?
We need your valued opinion. And what was your favorite Eagles album? This might determine if we're still friends after this show.
Okay. Hotel California.
I knew you would go there. Everybody does.
I know.
But the live album is, yes.
That and then Hell Freezes Over was obviously unbelievable live album, right? Like that, they might be the kings of live albums.
You want to bring up Hell Freezes Over?
Yeah.
I've got a story.
Please elaborate.
So of course, for many, many years, everybody asked, when are the Eagles going to get back together? And every member said, ain't happening. It'll happen when Hell Freezes Over. Well, you want to know how much money it is for Hell to freeze over? Well, that was in 95. And I was working one day and I get a phone call and it's the road manager for the Eagles. And I'm like,
Oh.
Yeah, right. You mean the band? And she's like, yeah, we're going to be in town performing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I got tickets, third row. I don't know. She's like, well, we're coming in on that Friday night and we're looking to place to go and bring the road crew and whatever. And I'm like, yes. and I'm like, okay. So I booked it and, for those 3 weeks, I'm like, oh my God, are they really going to show up? And sure as heck, 3 tour bus pull up in the parking lot, come in. None of the band members did come that night, but the road crew, the manager, all of them, man, they took care of us very well. We took care of them. It was a great experience. They had a lot of fun. And when it's all said and done, I got 4 backstage passes to get to meet all the band members and sit right there in the sound booth on this, in front of the stage. And man, probably by far my favorite concert.
So did they bowl? Was that what it was? Did they come to bowl?
They came to my bowling center and they bought food. We ordered them tons of food for everybody. There was about 40 people and they bought drinks and refreshments for everybody. Didn't want to bother anybody else. So they helped take care of any costs. My staff, took good care of them and they rewarded them very well. Great experience with, a big band that travels that way. And of course, the opportunity to meet all of them and they were very gracious. I didn't get to spend a ton of time with them, but basically I just had the ability to go around backstage and hang out and see how everything worked and had the opportunity, got introduced to all the band members individually. And then when the time came, they kick into that Hotel California and you just, from that point on, you're just mesmerized for 2.5 hours. And
I'm not going to lie, when working at bars with that bands, whether they're, world famous or whether they're local, it is really cool to see behind the scenes and what happens and how they have, like even when I was dating a musician, you learn so much more. Like, why is it this expensive to have us play? Well, it's not. They practice for hours. They have to buy equipment. I mean, it is a huge, process. It's another job. And just to see like even the setup and the takedown and just all of it, it's really cool. And meeting them, I agree with you. It's just I'm in awe of it.
Well, have you ever had any like famous people in and out of like Kelly's or some of the bars that you've played?
Not well. There's been a few the person I used to date, he opened for a couple of bands, and I got to meet a few different people, but they weren't the kindest. So I'm not going to name any names right now. But yeah, there's been a few different bars, and especially like at the Grove, they had a few people. That Vega, Kelly's. I would say, yeah, they're all famous, my buddies. But we have a lot of our friends that they traveled and opened for some pretty big bands. Flannel Channel was the one that I really loved. And then the Ghetto Blasters, they're kind of like a spin-off of what the 90s, and they've got open for a few people as well. And it's pretty cool. They're a pretty good band, but it's fun just to watch them all, the dynamic between all of them.
I love your attitude on that, because I like me playing in like local bands for years. I always wondered like what the staff thought of us, if they just thought we were a bunch of weirdos. Because we would go, we were very low level, so we would go drink with the people. We do shots. It was basically the drinking Olympics for us with instruments, right? And so, so you're getting the same person when you see us there that you're gonna get, except for like a lot of people like me. When I'm at home, I'm completely different, right? When I'm not doing podcasts and everything, I'm completely lame, like probably the lamest of all time. But then you get me out in public like that, and we turn a switch on. But I always wonder like what the staff thinks, like especially in karaoke on that level, Randy. You're on the next level when it comes to karaoke. You're like on the upper echelon of like entertainment in that world, and don't be bashful on that either, Randy. I think everybody knows it, and if they don't, we're telling.
Randy, that's why everybody loves you, because you get out there and you communicate, you have fun with people. And that's why the musicians that I met that do go out there and talk to people and are around them, you get more fans, and it's just genuine. They want to come see you, and they tell your friends, and Randy, you're really good at that. You draw people in.
Well, I think that is the key to successful entertainment is, again, how does that music relate to the crowd? And if you can draw that out of people, and you can get people to kind of enhance their entertainment or sing songs that really do have that emotional connection to them or to the crowd. I mean, listen, I've seen so many times somebody do a song that just all of a sudden the bar stops and joins in, or everybody gets up and starts dancing. I say it regularly. If you've been to any of my shows, I'll say, you picked a good song because everybody got up and danced,
Yeah.
and they look at me like, yeah, oh, I'm pretty good at that. But so you don't have to be great or the best to evoke that same emotion that we all feel.
But you're really good at picking the songs and what this person, hey, try this one or try that, or no, like, we're not going to do all country. We're not going to do all, whatever. And you are really good at choosing for that person, even in particular, especially when you get to know them. You're really talented with that too. And that kind of evokes emotion with other people too, because you're like, okay, she can sing this. How about you sing this one instead? And you're good at that.
Well, I think what's different about me in that genre is I'm not really, I love to sing and I love to be a part, but I'm not really a singer. And so where a lot of shows have DJs or KJs that are, they do it because they get into it because they're singers, and they get hooked in it because they love performing. And karaoke becomes an outlet for those people, even if it's their business. And sometimes they forget that the business is the customer and not so much them. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to perform and use your skills, but since that's not my, that's not what I'm really good at. What I found out is that I'm good at connecting people to those things. And when you get good at that, and you see it with any good DJ, knows how to bring in the right music, get people dancing, how to set the mood, set the tone. That's just my version of karaoke, really.
Well, and you have a lot of followers, so it's your fans. Basically, you're entertainment, and you have a lot of fans that come to see you.
Well, you only build fans if you're doing things right. I mean, I strongly believe that if you're not doing something right, there's plenty of other places for people to go and other areas to get into. So to actually build a following, you really have to, again, all these little things that touch people into music. And honestly, that's what I love about it.
Well, speaking of guys who sing really well, you've got like a mischievous cat.
Well, we have a special guest today.
Come over here, Max.
Hey, Max.
Come on in. So, I'd like to introduce a special guest today to the show, which hopefully you'll get to see more of him. But Max Antoine, he's he's known in a lot of circles for singing. He performs in plays. He just did a great show at the Lead Center, Martin Luther King. He just spent some time out in New York checking out Broadway. He's got a lot of aspirations in music and theater. Max, give us your feel right now. What do you see out in the music scene right now?
The music scene is very, very different, and I have to keep, as you will, keep figuring out what's new and what's hip and what's attractive in the music scene. You know what I'm saying? I come from the 90s era. I'm a 90s kid. Oh, I think that's where we're all at right now. Randy says, not me. But
just being honest.
Yeah. But, I, as a guy here in 2024, it's the reason why I got into acting. It's the reason why I got into the musical field, because these kids today are changing Broadway. They're changing the music industry today, so, and it's very interesting because art is very subjective. Art is a big component in our lives. It influences our lives. It influences people, influences everything that we do, which is why I became an entertainer, because I like to influence.
I actually got to see him perform, and he is phenomenal. Yeah. You are amazing. You are so fun to watch, Max.
Our fun, Max. We even brought you on stage with us with the band when we played at Nowhere a few times, and we had a blast, man. You could have been part of the band immediately. You know what I mean? Like you're just an entertaining guy, and just walking back and forth, I'm entertained by you. I'm like, there goes Max again. Here I'm watching him. So I just appreciate you popping in on the show, man. Come back more. Kiss or kill? Which one?
Yeah.
This is why we have Brooke on the show, because she then gets to say some hot guy.
I'm Jack Black.
Jack freaking Black, of course.
I would marry him.
That's fascinating. That's great. It's great to hear females say stuff like that. A guy with an unbelievable dad bod, right? But he
gives us guys hope.
Yeah, it gives us guys hope, because it's not the Ken doll type; it's the guys like us with the dad.
He's like you guys. You guys are beautiful people. You're talented. You're funny. You're all of it. And I love dad bods, by the way.
Oh man, this show just went up. The stock went up on this show.
Yep. Every guy over the age of 42. Brooke just added 1,000 followers to her Instagram right there.
And what's Brooke's Snapchat again? And
Yep. Of course, we may have to have a disclaimer on the show about stalking our hosts.
I'm fine with it. No big deal.
I mean, Brooke has enough of that at work.
Yeah. Oh, it was like my sister. If anybody, she touched my hand. We're married.
Cain, we had a situation one night. Me and Brooke were sitting at the DJ booth, and some guy, drunk, and I was like, "So, you guys married?" And in my calmest, straightest face is, "Yeah, we've been married 20 years. I can't even believe we made it this long. She's so crazy."
Yeah.
And Brooke's like, "Oh, honey, come on." And I'm like, "Listen, don't pretend now in front of people.
I think you actually said 30 years, and the guy goes, "How did you do that?"
How did you do that? Yeah, like how did you get her? I'm like, listen. And I said, listen, I didn't always look like this. I've lost myself. This is what marriage does to you. You lose yourself.
Oh, no,
You haven't lost yourself, by the way.
How? Yeah, and because
then he came back. Then he had to come back. He's like, "You're just joking with me, right?" Like, no, don't talk about my wife like that.
He's looking at me.
I had $1 for every time some guy came up to my wife and said, "What are you doing with this loser?" You know what I mean? Right, I swear to you, man. I remember at karaoke a couple times, especially in small towns. Those guys are so bold, right? I would be hosting karaoke, be going good. I'd take my wife with me, and a guy would come up and he'd be like, "Hey, beautiful," talking to my wife and everything. You hear it all the time. The spiel. He's and I just think it's funny at first, but then he's like, he asked the question, are you with, he looks over at me, him? And it's like, yeah, of course. And this guy, I remember one guy offered her money if he would just come out and dance with him for a while. And I was like, take the money. Maybe he's better.
We do not have trust issues. We do not have trust issues. We have money. We have money issues. Get out there.
Yeah, we have lots of money issues. Yeah, exactly. $40 you're offering.
well, your wife should have said to him, like, "Man, have you ever been with a bass player?"
What about you, Randy? What do you got going on? You're kind of the man of the people. You're in every venue. So tell us what you got going on.
Well, I don't get to go out and see shows as much anymore because they got me working all the time. But I do stay connected with a lot of the local musicians in town that do always send me the invites to their events, and I try to do my part to promote those out to everybody. Because look, we want to support. If you make entertainment valuable, then people will pay to go. And I try to explain that to people all the time, that if you cheapen it out, well, then it's perceived as cheap. And we know that's not true. I used to go down to the Bourbon Street almost every week, check out what bands are playing, from local to regional to national acts. We're fortunate enough to have a couple different venues in our area to be able to catch out shows like that. Like I said, I don't get to go as much as I like to anymore. And maybe for our podcast purposes, maybe that's going to be something that's going to change back here in the future. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get back into going to see more live shows, but I sure do love going. The live shows, I think you get the most out of live shows, and it really shows you, the talent of a lot of those guys. I would get a free cup of coffee at Starbucks over this. I've made it.
Well, you could make it. You should make it. Somebody should buy. They should actually shower us all with gifts, because we're giving the Lincoln area and all the surrounding areas, which would be the rest of the world, a premium podcast here. Where we're talking about local talent. We're talking about music. We're doing things that they're not doing, on the radio shows anymore, because they can't. You were on a great radio show, Brooke, when you were with Matt McKay and all that. And I mean, I used to listen to it. I can't believe that you're even on our show. I can't believe Randy's on this show with me. Like, I used to go to Randy's Grill and Chill back in the days where karaoke, if you ask me, really lived in Lincoln, and everybody's had that brush. And then here I am, some nerd older guy who used to be a nerd kid. And I get I get to be on a podcast with you guys. So, I'm just saying, we're spreading the wealth, everybody, and we're buckle in, keep your arms and legs in the vehicle, because we got a heck of a podcast going on here.
Well, to our listening audience, Cain is selling himself a little short. He's got some serious vocal talent. And if you want, check out his new album on Spotify. He's got some new deep cuts in there that I think you'd really enjoy.
You're another talented person. And you know what NERD stands for? Never ending radical dude. All right?
Right on, man.
Bingo.
Well, we are running low on the show, but we need to have a closing segment here. So let's do a little round table of quick topics that maybe we want to graze on here. I sent you something. I know
you got a lyric.
I want Brooke though, because I don't want to. If Brooke isn't ready, I'll go. I'm always a good starter. Okay. So that I told Randy my favorite Eagles song when we were kind of grazing over this before. My favorite Eagles song is, New Kid in Town, and that song might, some people might overlook that song, but that song's a sleeper right there. And so my favorite lyrics to that is, there's talk in the street. It's there to remind you, doesn't matter which side you're on. You're walking away and they're talking behind you. They'll never forget you till somebody new comes along. Man, that right there. I mean, if that isn't good songwriting, it's unbelievable. It just, I don't know. Those are the lyrics right there for me that really knocked me down the stairs.
Yeah, it's a great lyric by a great band, and probably from two of the best songwriters in the industry of all time. Totally relate to that song.
Who can't, think about the kids that come in class, the new kid in town, as it says. I mean, they're so interesting. They're so mysterious. Like, what are they all about? And the song just kind of like, I've never really dug into like what they were really trying to say. This is one of the things where I take it seriously, like literally, I guess. What do you think? Do you know more about the Eagles than we do?
Well, I think you could take it too as just, it can be anybody in your life. Something new comes along, and, sometimes when you least expect it, and then it can be gone, and then you find something new. So
on an instant, they'll never forget you till someone new comes along, man.
Someone new comes along. What do you think, Brooke?
I don't know if you'll ever be forgotten, but I really think that when somebody new comes along and you're focusing on them, but I don't know if you'll ever, and you were chosen by someone or something for a reason, they'll never go away.
Yeah.
Well, you can hold people in your heart and soul for a long time, whether you see them or not. And and you know what they always say, those how exhilarating new connections can be. It's how you keep that over time is what keeps people together.
It does. It absolutely does. And are there any lyrics that pop out to you in general, Randy, that you want to share with people, or you Brooke, as well?
Well, I'll go with one that I think about a lot, and it's from the band Radiohead, the song Creep. The lyric, I want you to notice when I'm not around.
Yes. Oh, just saying it, man, it gives me like a weird euphoria just because I think about how it is in the song. Man, it's such a strong lyric, man.
It's not just the lyric, but the way they deliver it.
Yeah, the delivery.
And I think that has to do with we all find ourselves with kind of wants and desires to be noticed by people, yet we're stuck there in the background, and in your heart, that's what you're saying is like, I just want you to notice when I'm not there, and evoke that emotion of longing and missing you.
Mm-hmm.
So that song in particular, so our friend, from Final Channel, that he would sing that song. I've watched him sing it, or the whole band, numerous times. And it, not even, men, women, didn't matter. They were just enthralled, just listening. And you could just see like how deep it was. And I remember just watching the crowd. And so one show that we did, I went and bought a bunch of women's underwear. And while he was singing that song, I threw it up at the band. A couple of us girls were flinging the underwear we brought because everyone was just like, "Oh, it's a panty dropper!" Because it is like it's a great song, but it evokes so many emotions, and so I thought that was kind. And then we got a few boxers we threw up there too, but
whatever, the big granny panties. Like...
And one got caught on his guitar and he had to keep playing. But yeah, it's good. I like it.
Those type of at the cool band shows, like at the shows that we played, it was like the granny panties that fling at us, or you know what I mean? Or like there wasn't a dry set of granny panties in the whole place, depending on.
Well, speaking of, my lyrics that I really love is, "Oh my God, Becky, look at her butt. It is so big." I'm just kidding.
It's a lot of emotion to me personally.
Well, what a great way to end this session of Scratch the Vinyl. Man, I hope all of you guys enjoyed it today. Cain Stevens, myself, Randy Wilson, and Brooke Johnson. Come and check us out next week on Scratch the Vinyl.